applause because she's so awesome.
So you need to stand here,
Yeah.
Zoom,
Okay.
and there you go.
Okay. Perfect. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. And now I do need my glasses.
You need to use the microphone.
Yeah, now I do need my glasses and the microphone. How's that?
Yeah.
How's that?
Down
That
low,
better?
good, yeah.
All right, my name's Kent Bradley Brown. I was born on the 29th of June, 1967. Great year, hey? My registered number as a police officer in Queensland was 400-9444, with a Kilo Bravo on the end to represent the name Kent Brown. I commenced official duties on the QPS on February the 8th, 1993, not long after marrying the love of my life. I continued an active service in the QPS from 1993 until 2009, comprising 16 years within the Queensland Police. What an idiot for spending 16 years. However, it set me in good stead, and I think I've got something to share with you here today. First of all, I'd like to say that as a nation, we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten where we came from. We've forgotten what our forefathers and our foremothers won for us. More specifically, what our Anzacs and what the veterans of World War II won for us. And what our fathers and mothers back then ensured went into the Constitution of Australia. We're going to go through a few of those things tonight. I want to remind you that, or share with you that a person like me used to think that our rights came from law. You could look it up in a book and see where our rights came from. But Don reminded me to us all tonight that our rights come from the fact that we are the sons and daughters of the Almighty God.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter. I've had people call me a God botherer. It doesn't even matter about that. What matters is that when you pick up the Constitution of Australia and read it, you will see that it is written under the Almighty God. And there's a reason for that. That is the way a society becomes the best society that it possibly can be. We love our neighbour as ourselves. We do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And we don't take crap from anyone who wants to break that up. And that's exactly what's happening today. I'm glad that I'm no longer a member of a police force anywhere. I not only served 16 years in Queensland, I served 2 years in the Northern Territory. So all up 18 years. And when Dot came to my house to visit for a planning session, she mentioned someone who had pretended to be a police officer and actually wasn't. So I got out my medals and showed her that the medals actually do have my name on them. And that's one of the reasons I wore these here tonight, so that you could know that I genuinely was a police officer. Fast forward 6 years from the time I left the Northern Territory Police Force to right now. And what I can tell you is that back then, police services were still behaving honourably. And I'm sure that there are some people within the police services of Australia today who are still behaving honourably. The problem is that by and large they have been usurped by dictators. I can assure you that the law of our nation describes the actions of our political leaders as nothing more than crimes. We've got 2 kids dead from the vaccination in Sydney and not a word of it on the news. Okay? If that doesn't wake you up, I don't have words for any of that. I'm a bit overcome with the fact that we've got 2 kids dead. And that the so-called leader of our nation, I don't need to go further. When you remove the rule of law because the government refuses to follow the law, those laws which have been instituted and ratified and agreed upon by our forebears and ourselves, when you remove that law and those leaders use a force, a police force, to enforce criminal activity, you no longer have a country that is under the rule of law. You have a country that is under the rule of thuggery. I assure you, you have no choice. You can either accept the sentence they want to give you, or you can stand up. I'm in constant email contact with a pretty special bloke in America by the name of Seth Keshel. Seth Keshel is the retired US Army captain of intelligence who helped intercept the child sex ring information being participated in by the US generals in the Pentagon. He is the one who worked out the fraud that was taking place in elections in the United States of America, and subsequently, for that and other reasons, he left the US Army, and he is the one who today, along with, he calls them bunker buddies, is fighting very, very strongly to highlight the amount of fraud that took place in America. Their system and the way they are fighting is a little different to what we need to do here. We don't have that ability, even though I'm certain that there's fraud taking place in our elections. That information is not open source. Open source in that anyone can just look it up. And if you want proof that it's not open source, 3 months ago, you could look up the Australian Therapeutic Goods Association and see the number of people who had suffered injuries and death from the vaccine. Try to find that information now. It's gone. The whole format has been changed and they've buried it and hidden it so deep. I have searched for approximately 15 hours so far and I can't find it anymore. And when 2 kids are killed in a government authorised vaccinisation program where parents aren't allowed to be, and that's not front page news and everywhere, we are living in a pure pre-World War II style dictatorship. We can't access free and open source information in our country anymore. It's gone. How do we combat that? First of all, we have to examine how we got here. We got here through inaction, through fear. We sat still, and I'm just as guilty of every single one of you. We sat there and we thought, it'll be okay, she'll be right. Gee, this is terrible, I wonder what's going to be done about it. Okay? That type of behaviour will no longer cut it, and it will lead you to a field of slaughter. Not only that, when we finally do face our judgment day, I think it matters how we live. I think it matters how we die. And I think we just need to get on with it. We cannot live in a spirit of fear. We have to accept this is our lot. History tells us, and the statistics tell us, that approximately 1% of our nation will stand up. 1%. That doesn't seem like many people. But once that 1% stands up, history also tells us another 10% will stand up. That's the dynamics. That is the dynamic of being a human being. If this 1% can get its act together and unite and stand up, we'll have at least 2.5 million people moving together. So, I need to introduce you to a group called TAP, T-A-P, The Australia Project.org, okay? The Australia Project.org. I'll say that one more time so you can write it down and get it stuck in your brain, because we need to say things 3 times, right, Don? 3 times. Capital T. Thank you, everyone. That's my brother Lance. He is a major inspiration in my life, and he's come here to hold my hand tonight. So thank you very much for being here. He's making sure that I don't make any mistakes. So it's capital T, capital A, capital P, the Australia Project.org. I'll tell you what, it's .org. No, it's not all one word, but on the if you're searching for it on the computer, you still don't even make it all one word. The space, Australia space, project.org. Okay. Our group has already suffered a couple of attempts to be infiltrated. To be infiltrated by, ready for this? Yep. Federal ASIO spies. Okay? I can assure you that the Australia Project has a very small core executive that has known each other for most of their lives, and we will not let anyone else join that small executive group because we cannot afford to take the risk of being infiltrated. We have watched groups over the years be infiltrated and destroyed by government officials. We all know them, I don't need to go into that. We recently watched a group here on the Gold Coast get infiltrated, one of them arrested, and the infiltrator, who was the leader of that group, who was sent out by the federal government to instigate that group. Everyone here has probably heard a word called entrapment. Yep. Entrapment is illegal in the United States of America. Our government made sure it is not illegal in Australia. They send out activators, activists, people who want to stir everyone up so they can filter out the ones who will stand up, who will have original thought. Okay? Interestingly, that person was not arrested and has faced no charges and has slipped into anonymity. Similarly, they have attempted to infiltrate us. It didn't work. Right. I want to share with you the aims of the Australia Project. We'll have business cards out soon. The aims of the Australia Project are to remove corruption from Australia. That's it. Period. Everywhere. Everywhere in this nation.
Yeah.
I'm holding the mic, but I want to clap as well. In the words of the carpenter from Nazareth, Jesus, walk a mile with your enemy when you need to. This story comes about because Roman citizens could force anyone to carry their bags for them a mile. Okay? And he said, walk a mile with them when it's clever to do so. Okay? So, for the moment, what we need to do is we need to band all of these mushroom groups together. You guys are part of that. We're part of that. No one else is doing that. So we felt moved. We were sitting there thinking, well, why should we be the ones to do that? And then one of the members of our group said, why not? And indeed, why not? Why not just have a crack at it? So we got into it. And we're starting to pull everyone together. We need a medium, a way of doing that. There's a principle that we call the 6 degrees of separation, that's now called the 4 degrees of separation. You know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows me. Okay? If we take that into account, everyone in this room knows everyone in Australia. So we can use this, and we can use the courage from this to get out there and talk to the people who we know, and we can get this information out there that we do have a group that's pulling everyone together who's going to coordinate us, because we're going to need some coordination. Now, we're not here to take over the mushroom groups, okay? And that's not an insult. Mushrooms are delicious. I love them, Don. I eat them all the time. We're not here to take over mushroom groups. We need everyone working wherever they feel most comfortable, wherever they feel most fulfilled, where they feel at home. But I can tell you, we have the same feelings. There are thousands of police officers who do not want to participate in that. Okay, and I think we should be very grateful for that. We need to write letters, everybody. It is the way we're going to walk a mile with our enemy without getting into trouble. We can all write letters. We can send emails, we can write slow mail letters, and I want to share with you very simply how powerful that is going to be. When we've got 200 letters going out, that's not going to make much of an effect, but it will make some effect. For instance, 200 letters going to one pharmacist that has decided to take cheap, free money, easy money out of our pockets from the government to poison people with a jab. 200 letters going to that pharmacist, telling that pharmacist, you're breaking the law, and when this regime changes, you're going to be judged in a common law court. And that's worth a clap. And we are going to strip you of your credentials. We are going to take the wealth that you created out of this crime and give it back to the people as the proceeds of crime. And then if you have been found guilty of treason against your nation because you have failed to follow the direction that we all sent to you, 200 of them, cease and desist your illegal actions. If you're found guilty of not following that direction to cease and desist, then my question is, how long will you spend in jail? Okay. So that's a beginning, a small look at the program. I want to take you through right now, very quickly, the next letter that's coming out on our website and also on Telegram Messenger. For queries about how to get to Telegram Messenger, if many of you are not on it, that information can be handed out to you this evening. You can find out about that this evening, and we will. We have a number of letters up that are cease and desist letters that have been very well researched by many, many lawyers who are respected enough to be, and judiciaries who are respected enough to be involved with the High Court of Australia, but are not allowed to have anything to do with the High Court of Australia anymore because they've taken a stance against the government. They dared to tell them it was illegal. We very famously had a fantastic senior constable in New South Wales stand up and write a letter to his superiors. Actually, let's not use the word superior. Let's say he wrote them to the people who run the police force. Okay? Because they're certainly not superior to him. He wrote a fantastic letter that was superbly researched, and a portion of that is reproduced in this letter to the Queensland Police. I'm not going to read this letter out to you in its entirety, but I will read a couple of things from it. To the attention of all Queensland Police, read cease and desist order on COVID-19 measures. When a government refuses to abide by the law of the land that has been morally and lawfully created by the people, the rule of law ceases to exist within that land, and that land is henceforth under the rule of thugs and tyrants. Under the state of emergency currently claimed to exist within Australia, the lawful emergency requirements are qualified and restricted by the significant fact that emergency requirements and directions cannot request an individual to be isolated. This is law from the government. Cannot request an individual to be isolated, detained, tested, vaccinated, medically treated, or bodily searched in the absence of a biosecurity control order issued to the individual. So if they want to do those things to me or to you, you must be symptomatic. You must have the symptoms, and they must have a biosecurity control order issued to you in your name. Has anyone here received that?
No.
Me neither. They are lying to us. That's important. That's the first two small paragraphs in this letter. I'm going to skip right to the bottom. Should you continue any of the actions enumerated herein and be found guilty of treason or of conspiracy to cause harm, loss or injury to the people of the Australian Federation, or of breaching your fiduciary duty, and fiduciary duty is duty owed to someone who has a responsibility to perform a specific duty to the people of the nation. So police officers definitely come under that. They are sworn into office and they swear an oath. They owe a fiduciary duty. As a police officer, you will be stripped of your office and credentials, tried before God and a jury of the people, and punished according to the will of God and the people who stand as his vice-regent. We direct you to govern yourselves accordingly. These letters are strong. They are honest, they are truthful, they are accurate. You don't have to take my word for it. You can research the contents of the letter yourselves. The letters will be up on Telegram Messenger. The Telegram Messenger channel for the Australia Project will direct you to the australiaproject.org website. Excuse me. The australiaproject.org website will have many, many letters that have been legally checked and will be extremely effective cease and desist orders for police, for doctors, for pharmacists, for the heads of hospitals, for the commissioners of police, for army soldiers, for their commanding officers, for members of parliament, for members of the opposition who sit there and say nothing.
Yep.
For the premiers and for the Prime Minister themselves. Because there is a change coming. One thing I can promise you, one thing I totally can promise you is true. The power of every regime changes. And when that change swings our way, which is the way of truth and honesty, it's going to happen to them. Now, they've been driving a fear campaign in all of your friends, your family, your children, your loved ones, and into the hearts of your fellow Australians. It's time we drove that fear back into them. I think I'm out of time. Okay.
Yeah.
You can keep clapping if you like.
Woo!
For Don. Let's try it.
We can hear him.
It's still very blurry.
Yeah.
And I really
You don't need a microphone to hear me. I talk like a foghorn. It came in handy as a police officer and as a construction manager. But it doesn't come in handy at home. Give that a crack. How's that?
Worse. Doesn't sound like it's switched on.
Big pun?
Doesn't sound switched on.
I don't know. Is that better? To the Zoom audience, can you give us some indication as to whether the microphone sounds
I
good?
think it should be down just a little bit.
Down a bit? How's that? Okay, raise your hand up the back if you can hear me. Perfect. We don't need a microphone anyway. That's great. That's good.
The word
All right.
Scratching. What does that mean?
Well, we'll just push ahead.
Yeah.
Right, we'll give it a crack.
Certainly no closer than that.
No closer than this, right? Now, I need to share with you how we're going to start serving these letters to police. First of all, you only have to write them, okay? However, there will be groups of us, and if you come to the Australia Project website, it's not up quite yet, it should be up. It'll be up either, I think it'll be up next week, probably late next week. It should be functioning. We have been running into some opposition. We had to go through 3 web designing companies before someone would actually make it for us.
Wow.
They said, "What's it about?" We told them, they went, "See ya." Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I didn't fall off that step there.
Traitors.
I think it says it's under construction at the moment. Okay. There are instructions on that website as to how we're going to proceed. I want you to think about this. With 200 letters being sent, that's not much, right? But it will be effective to just one pharmacy. But what about when there's 100,000 of us writing letters and we write 10 letters a week? Anyone do some quick math? That's 1 million letters. The campaigns will be ordered on the website. We will all know who we're writing them to that week. Okay? Yeah, that's worth clapping. We'll all know who we're writing them to. Can you imagine the face of our Prime Minister when we've got 200,000 people who've stood up and are coordinated? And I want you to know something. One of the groups who wants to deal with us already has 300,000 members across the country. That's worth clapping. This is going to grow, and it's going to grow fast. When we've got 200,000 people writing 10 letters a week, and that's 2 million, what is, well, I don't call him ScoMo, I call him Scummo. What is Scummo going to think when he gets 2 million letters addressed to him and his emails are jammed and his letterboxes are full to overflowing? Now think about the math before. 1% stands up, 10% get behind it. In Australia, that's 2.6, nearly 2.7 million people writing 10 letters a week. Brothers and sisters, that's 26 million letters a week. And I'm calling you brothers and sisters because we're all Australians. 27 million letters a week. If you don't think that's going to have them shaking in their shoes, man, drink a coffee. Get going. It's going to work. But the most important thing, I mean, with 27 million letters a week coming at them, they may give up the ghost before we even get there. But with 2.7 million people organised together, well, you extrapolate from there, because now it's time for me to not say anything else at the moment. But I will tell you this, 2.7 million people is not only enough to kick them where it hurts, that's enough to change the entire political face of our nation. Forever.
Woo! Yeah!
That's what you call tectonic change. there's something else I feel extremely is necessary to add to this. When it comes time for this tectonic change to take place, you will not find one member of the executive of the Australia Party anywhere as a political leader. We are not doing this so we can become powerful tyrants. We just want our country back.
Yes.
According to the correct timing and our plan, in the not too distant future, I can't be any more vague than that, we will be looking for as many brave individuals who feel able-bodied and able in spirit. That's more important than anything. Who are capable of standing solid in their sovereignty given to them by God, to join with us in serving a particular police station in Queensland. Anyone who is an ex-police officer or a current police officer, that'd be fantastic, who wants to come with us, anyone who has done Australian Defence Force and has a military uniform that they're still allowed to wear. As an ex-police officer, I'm no longer allowed to wear a police uniform. That's the law. I want to abide by that law. But these are mine. I earned them. And they'll be on my chest when we serve that station. When we call the officer in charge down from that station and serve that officer in charge with enough letters and demand that officer in charge gives a letter to everyone in the station. When we tell them, you cease and desist, or when the tide changes, every single one of you will be investigated. We're going to get some police who have enough courage to stand up with us when that happens, I can guarantee you. Now that's just one police station. What about when we start visiting local doctors' surgeries, hospitals, pharmacists who are jabbing the people? And what about when we visit all the police stations within our areas? And every single one of them is served. We're going to start to drive fear back into them. And they're going to start to think, whoa, hang on a second. This isn't some stupid Black Lives Matter rent-a-crowd. And before anyone here accuses me of being racist, my adopted name is Guluwiri Guruiwi. I am an Indigenous saltwater man from the Yolngu people. I consider myself Indigenous. I have no Indigenous blood in me whatsoever, no DNA. But I was born in this country and I identify with my brothers and sisters who are the Indigenous black people of this nation. And they don't like the Black Lives Matter crowd any more than I do. Because they know they're hired guns, they know they're gutless, they know they're criminals. And they know our government's backing them up. And a lot of our police know that too. So we won't be going there looking like scumbag hippies, unless you think this is a scumbag hippie. We'll be going there in our sovereignty, in our highly visible Australian citizen integrity. And we will be serving them cease and desist orders for the entire station. You can't ignore that. And we're going to comply with their rules, with their silly rules, because we're going to walk a mile with them. We'll socially distance. We'll have everyone set apart. If we need to follow their rules that one little bit, we will, because we're going to be serving them these legal papers. We're going to keep going until they are shaking in their shoes. And when there's enough of us, We will have a very courteous chat with them, and we'll tell them what we want and that we want it now. It's been a total pleasure to be here talking with you this evening. Does anyone have any questions? Well, you remember that I said at an appropriate time and in the near future. You won't be disappointed. And you're welcome to come.
Okay, can you repeat the question?
Okay, yes, I will repeat the question. The question was, when are we going to serve that police station?
When somebody asks a question,
I will.
repeat it before
I will. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just like that. A lot of these